Hello, this is Nick from PlanetReport.net. I've just done the main audio for this video about the Asiatic cheetah, and when I've listened to it back, I've realised I've missed some important information about the difference between the Asiatic cheetah and the African cheetah. So this video is not about the African cheetah that most people are familiar with. It's regarding a subspecies known as the Asiatic cheetah, and there is some slight differences. The two are believed to have separated tens of thousands of years ago, and the Asiatic cheetah has a shorter coat and mane than the African cheetah, and it's also slightly smaller and lighter than the African cheetah. So this audio I've just added into the start of this video, and now this is the main part of the audio to follow. Okay, thanks. Hello, this is Nick from PlanetReport.net. The Asiatic cheetah is critically endangered. There's only about 50, at the very most 100 left in the wild. And unfortunately, one of the reasons I'm making this video today is that the UN this month is cutting back. In fact, they're ending the funding of the conservation program that they've been working on in Iran. Iran is actually the only country where these Asiatic cheetahs now live, because they've gone extinct everywhere else. That photograph is taken by a British army officer of two Asiatic cheetahs with his dog, and this is during the era of the British Raj. It was taken in 1897 by a British army officer, Major G.S. Roden. At the time it was often called the hunting leopard because the Indian royalty had used it for many centuries to hunt antelopes, and then hunting of the cheetah increased, and also more and more land was used for farming, which made them come into conflict with humans more, and they went extinct in India in the 1940s, I think. Now, it went extinct throughout the 20th century in other places. Actually, in the 19th century it went extinct in Turkey, and then in the 1900s it went extinct in Iraq. It had lived in the desert west of Basra in the 1920s, but then it went extinct, and then it went extinct in the Sinai, Saudi Arabia, Afghanistan, Oman and Yemen, and all of these places that went extinct in, between sort of the 1940s to the 1980s. So it means that Iran is their last refuge. It's the only country left where they still live. Now, even in Iran, they have a lot of problems because some have been killed by sheep farmers protecting livestock, others have been killed crossing motorways, or as Americans would say, highways. So in the north of Iran, around Turan and Miandasht, there's enough cheetahs to maintain a population, because Iran has already lost the Caspian tiger and the Asian lion. So the UN has cut the budget. Now, they gave $800,000 in the last few years to cheetah conservation in Iran, and also the Iranian Department of the Environment has also cut its budget. So the situation is really, really perilous at the moment. Now, there is some good news, and that's there is a conservation organisation in Iran called the Iranian Cheetah Society, and it's working to save the cheetah from extinction. And they've worked for over a decade in northeastern Iran. Now, their mission is to conserve Iran's large carnivores in the wild and to research their ecology and status, to raise public awareness of Iran's large carnivores and their associated biota through community-based education programs, and to reduce conflict between humans and large carnivores by encouraging enterprise that balance social and economic needs with conservation. In the same area there is the Persian leopard, which is sometimes also known as the Caucasian leopard. So the work that they do also assists conservation of that cat as well. Some of the things that they're doing is mapping spatial distribution of the species, investigating food habits of species, assessment of possible human-cheetah conflicts, surveying possible dispersal from the Iranian population into neighbouring countries, identification of specific threatening factors to the survival of the cheetah, training game guards for enhanced conservation measures, increasing awareness within local communities. So all of that work is obviously really helping the Asiatic cheetah survive. Now, one of the problems is the banking sanctions on Iran it makes it difficult for them to access funds. So that was why the UN was so important, because it was a lot easier for the UN to provide the money. But since 2014, they have worked with the World Land Trust, which some of you might have heard of. It's a very well-known and well-respected charity that buys land such as like acres of rainforest and other sort of habitats to help conserve all sorts of different species. And they've been an international partner with the Iranian Cheetah Society to help them raise funds for their work. And I'll put a link to the Action Fund page that is helping to raise money for camera traps, etc. So the money goes to the World Land Trust, and then they use it to assist the Iran Cheetah Society. Now, there's been some developments regarding the Asiatic cheetah in the last couple of days. When I was doing this, I looked on the Google News section, and just I think it was on the 27th of December or the 26th, the Iranian Department of the Environment on their website reported that an 8-month-old Asiatic cheetah cub, which has been named Iran, was rescued in Tehran from an animal trafficking gang, and it's now at the Wildlife Rehabilitation Centre of Perdisian Park. And after a medical exam, it was found to have no damage to its limbs. So thankfully it's been rescued and safe, and hopefully it'll grow and to an adult, and it can be released back into the wild to at least that's one more to add to the population. So that is some good news, and also some good news about the Iran Cheetah Society, because if you go, I'll put a link to their website as well, and you can have a look. It's all in English, and you can see, that's the one bit of good news when it comes to these sort of stories, because it is quite depressing to be discussing a subspecies of cheetah, only 50 to 100 left in the wild. That's just so low in terms of numbers. But then you sort of read about the people who were committing the whole careers as aimed at saving this animal and increasing its habitat and protecting it and all these sort of things. So it's not all lost, and hopefully someone somewhere with a big bank balance, or even just everyone who can help donate. If you're interested in cats, if you've got a cat in the house, if you've got a house cat and you love donating to cat charities, because I remember when the Iceland bank went bust, some of the charities in the UK had money in the bank in Iceland, and I always remember that there was a cat charity that had millions and millions and millions. It wasn't a wild cat charity, it wasn't for tigers, it wasn't for lions, it wasn't for Asiatic cheetahs, it was for pussycats, and it had about 15 to 20, I think it was like 15 to 20 million pound. So sometimes I think these cat charities they seem to attract a lot of donations, and that's all well and good, but please, if you really love cats, don't possibly give some of the money that you donate to cat charities to big cat charities that such as lions and tigers and cheetahs, because these conservation charities that are doing such great work are desperate for funds, and to be able to ensure the survival of these beautiful cats in the wild is obviously something any cat lover would be, I'm sure, thrilled to be able to help to do that. So I'll put the link below, and in the meantime, thanks for listening, and goodbye.